Welcome back to From Nine to Mom.
where we discuss balancing the 9 to 5 hustle with the beautiful chaos that we call motherhood. And today we are so excited. We have Nina Spears with us today. She's the founder and CEO of Baby Chick. And I feel like some of you have probably seen this before. It's a trusted resource supporting women through pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early motherhood. She's a certified baby planner, a birth and postpartum doula, a childbirth educator, and she's about to come out with a brand new book. She's supported more than 800 families through their baby journey and 350 births. And through that experience, she's seen many different things come up with motherhood. And she really found that something that we've experienced as moms is that we're always really well prepared to have the baby, but not necessarily all the things that come after that, the emotional, physical, and relational shifts. And she is an expert in that. And this has led her to create the SOAR method, which she'll talk a little bit more about. And like we said, she's about to come out with a new book. So Nina, we are so excited to have you here today to talk to us about all things motherhood. So welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. This is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like we're going to dive into some good topics. This is going to be a good one.
Yes, I'm so excited because we both, when we first met you, we were like, we've seen your content. We've definitely followed you. And then we've had a mutual connection. It's been so good to connect over all of these things, but we need to start at the basics. You need to tell us about your motherhood journey, how you got to be where you are now.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of people probably think, oh, you got into the space because you became a mom and you got inspired by motherhood. And no, actually, that is not the case whatsoever. I actually started working with moms when I was at the ripe age of 23, 24, and I had just quit my job. I had graduated from college, worked in sales, quit my job, and was like, I need to figure out my life, Catie. Danielle, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I was like, you know what? I really like babies and this, so I'm going to go work for this like mom and baby boutique and like just figure out my life. And then I realized when working at this boutique, like these women have no idea what they're doing, they kept coming to me, this young girl who's childless, being like, okay, should I get this breast pump? Or what do you think about like, just because I'm behind the checkout counter, like I would know. And I just thought, oh my gosh, you know how like people hire a wedding planner to just help you navigate the whole wedding system and like figure out what's best for you and make you just relax so you have a beautiful day. Like you hire a financial planner to hit, your financial goals. You hire a trainer to hit your wellness goals. Why is there not like a baby planner that can like help you make that whole transition just a lot smoother, let you know your options? Like there should be that. I thought I was brilliant and I thought I created this entire new career. I was like, I'm a genius. And then I did a quick Google search and realized, oh, there's a certification for this. So I then was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to become a baby planner. I think this sounds really cool. So I got my certification and I started working with a couple families. And then one of the families, because, this is a big moment in your life.
Yeah.
Huge.
You get really close with people if you work with them for a significant amount of time. So she hired a doula, but she was like, hey, Nina, you should come to my birth too. I would love for you to be there. And I was like, okay, I'll come.
Nope,
I really loved her.
I'm going to come. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to support you. Sure. And so I show up and y'all, oh my gosh, like you either think it's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen in your entire life, or you're like being called to the priesthood and you're like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So I was the latter and I was like, I have to do this. So then I worked towards my certification as a birth doula. Then I realized how touch is so important and foundational and all that. So I got my license as a massage therapist. I got certified in all the prenatal, labor induction, labor, postpartum, infant massage instructor as well. Then I realized women aren't preparing enough for postpartum. So then I got my certification as a postpartum doula. I'm also, like you said, childbirth educator, newborn care educator. And it's been my passion to really support moms throughout their whole journey of becoming a mother, because you're becoming a whole new person. And that happened all before I had children. Isn't that wild?
That is crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah. I can't believe you were like, had that moment of like, all right, I'm going to just start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to just go do this. But it's so cool to see that though, because you wanted to give advice. And that's where we wanted to go into too today of like, getting advice, giving advice. How are you qualified to give advice? How do you vet people to do that? Me and Danielle actually did a whole episode on like, how do you even know who to take advice from?
Mm.
But we were talking about, the baby's here, now what? And a lot of things that you do, there is a lot of the prep part, and we want to get into, both sides of that. But in your experience, you've worked with so many different families. We want to talk about how underprepared moms are actually when they come home from the hospital. So can you elaborate a little bit on that, on what you see in that postpartum time frame?
For sure. Yeah. Catie, like I will never forget. There's like this one mom that comes to mind that I worked with. And she was like, Nina, I just felt so prepared. Like I had done all the things that I was supposed to do. And then like we come home. One, I can't believe they let me leave with this child by myself. And it's this tiny little baby in this like chunky car seat. And we put the baby in the car seat and then take the car seat out with our baby in it and put it on the table. And we look at the baby and we looked at each other and then we were like, now what? And I was like, yeah, because you have the house ready, you have the nursery ready, you have all of the stuff. It's just, okay, now what? Like, have you prepared for what your recovery is going to look like? What cluster feedings are going to be like? What, the sleep is going to be like? How your relationship is going to change? Those are the things that I see that yeah, most moms like spend months preparing for the baby,
Yeah.
but just very little time for becoming a mother. So, yeah, like again, they know the stroller that they're going to buy. They know, but they don't understand like what
Why do you
cluster
think
feeding
that
is.
is? Like, why do you think our culture is so, there's other cultures out there. Obviously, maternity leave looks different, or now they're starting to open post birth spas that you can go to in the big cities,
Yes.
like, which is amazing. But why do you think our culture is so obsessed with the pre stage, getting prepared for baby, and not at all for the post stage?
Gosh, Danielle, I really think, I think it's because like babies are visible, but motherhood isn't.
That's such a good
So,
way to
what
put
I
it.
mean by that is like, registries, baby showers, and nurseries, like they're all exciting and easy to celebrate, but postpartum recovery, identity shifts, sleep deprivation, relationship changes, mental health, like those are not so much. And they can be hard conversations. And I think our culture just celebrates the arrival of the baby, but often forgets like the person who gave birth. So, and I also think it's part of it is capitalism. Like there's an entire industry built around helping you buy things for your baby. Like it's so much easier to sell parents things that's going to solve their problems than to actually help them like prepare emotionally, mentally, and relationally for like what's coming. And I also think that there's just some deeper cultural issues at play. Like historically, we've focused more on the baby than the person having the baby. Like we celebrate the birth, but we don't always support the recovery. We ask how the baby is sleeping, but not like how the mother is healing. We spend sometimes thousands of dollars preparing a nursery and all of this stuff in our house, but very little time talking about postpartum mental health, your identity and how that's changing, your relationship and how that might change, even like with friendships
Hmm.
or what your recovery will actually look like. So I just, the irony is that when we support the mother, like everyone benefits. The baby benefits, the partner benefits, the family benefits. And I think then the community benefits. Then I think the world benefits. So this is why I love what I do, because I think that if we just started taking care of mothers, like there would be world peace. Like we would have happier communities, like that means if we have happier communities, happier states, happier countries, happier world. Like we just need to start at the foundation of our homes, and it's the mother. We are the nervous system of every home, the foundation of every home. And so everyone benefits. But because that support just doesn't come neatly packaged in a box, Danielle, like it just, I think, often gets overlooked.
Well, it's so true. I feel like I was a lot like that story you shared of like my type A, right? Like I'm like, I nailed my registry. Like it's all going to be set. I was set up at like 34 weeks. I'm like, nursery's done. My bag's packed. Like, when's this
Yes.
happening? And
Yeah.
then, bumps come. I mean, my first I had at 36 weeks. Good thing I did have mine ready. And like, there's so much you don't know. And it was a big reason we started this podcast is like, we talk about like the mom group text or like things you share in your friend group. And I know something you focus on a lot is relationships, but once you have that baby, friendships change,
Mhm.
your change with your, they change with your partner, but we see it so often. And then we get to these new points in postpartum where we don't we don't have the answers, so we turn to something online and try to find
Yeah.
resources, and you try to buy that item that's gonna help your baby sleep better so that you can get your sanity back. Sometimes you don't think to just, like, text one of your friends that's been through it or get that different, piece of that. So if you had to give advice, like, what's the most common thing that you tell moms or, like, that you're hearing from moms that they wish they were prepared for?
Ooh, good one. I I think I think it has to do with, like, the loss of predictability
Hmm,
as well as, like, learning to let go. Like, I think that's a mother's job is one day we have to let go of our babies too, like, that it's leading up to we have to let go during labor. We have to let go of certain expectations as we're parenting our child, and the having to let go, that I think is something that no one truly prepares you for. But before baby, I think, like, most women are so used to being competent, like, they know how to manage their careers, their schedules, like, the homes, their relationships, and then suddenly, like, they have this tiny human who doesn't follow a schedule necessarily, and everything just feels unpredictable. So again, that predictability and that loss of control catches many women off guard. And, we spend our lives being rewarded for planning,
mhm,
achieving, and controlling outcomes that many women I work with, they are like incredibly accomplished. They, went to college, maybe even more. They built careers, they started businesses, amazing podcasts like you two ladies, led teams, learned that if they just worked hard enough, they can make things happen. But then pregnancy, birth, and motherhood show up and teach you a completely different lesson. And, because labor unfolds in its own time and in its own way, and babies don't necessarily read schedules, like, and breastfeeding doesn't always go according to plan, and
nope.
sleep doesn't improve because you checked every box. Like, you bought all of the swaddles, but none of them are working. And oh, you thought these pacifiers are going to work, but your baby won't take one. Like, so I think that the women who struggle the most aren't the least capable. They're often like the most capable. They're just used to being independent, productive, and in control. Suddenly this tiny human just becomes the one who is setting the agenda. And I think one of like the biggest lessons of motherhood is learning the difference between control and influence. You can't control everything, but you can prepare and respond and adapt and show up. So I think that shift is incredibly challenging for a lot of women. And that's also where so much growth happens.
That makes total sense. Hearing you put it that way, like even listening to you talk, I'm 3 years out of Daisy and I'm thinking like how much that relates to like how we all feel. And there's like all this guilt that piles up on moms because like you said, we're high capacity. We've always succeeded. Just work hard and you get there. But then the baby has colic or your breastfeeding journey isn't going well and you have to pump every 3 hours and you're not it's just one of those things. Then you feel bad when it doesn't go according to plan, so then
Yeah.
there's different layers of that, and I think navigating through that, if I had more resources at that time or more people were talking about what that looks like, because we don't wanna say, "I need help," right? We're sitting there being like,
Never, for
I
some
don't want
reason.
I've got this," right? But the
Yeah.
reality is
Yeah.
you don't sometimes, like, and that's what I learned is I didn't have it by myself and I needed help, but I didn't wanna ask because I didn't wanna look like I didn't prepare well enough or that I wasn't capable, and it's not a capability issue. It's like everything in your life is changing. Your body, your
Yes.
mind, your career, who relies on you, and you are trying to
Yes.
navigate. So I think that what you're doing and what you're saying is such a benefit to women. And if you had it before, right? Think about if you knew that before and you could start prepping and planning. If you're in therapy, going to therapy, talking about what might change.
Yes.
Like, come on, that would have been like game changing, I think, Katie, for both of us.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's too like where the information overload comes. We've talked about it so
Mm.
many times, and you try to take so much advice or when you're in it, it's hard to get the advice or ask for the advice. And
For sure.
I w one of the things that we've always focused on and like a big reason we connected, right, is like how to find experts that you can have access to ask questions and do those things. So we wanted to ask you too. So from pregnancy to early childhood, your years being a doula, how did that shape the content that you're building to share with, to be moms, and, how do you kind of vet the information that you're putting out there for moms?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's like the cornerstone, like the foundation of what like made Baby Chick what it is. Like, Baby Chick wasn't built from like a keyword research, not at all. It was built from like real conversations with real families inside their homes. Like before I had Baby Chick, I had my first company was called Bassett Baby Planning. And that was the one that I was the baby planner. And then I grew into a doula and did all of this. And I was working with all these families. And I became more sought after that I had to bring more people and train them. And so I had up to 12 women also going out into the greater Houston area where I'm located, serving moms. And it's because we just heard all of these same questions over and over. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if I just created something that could give them the information that they are looking for so that they can make the right choice for them, because every circumstance is different, then I wouldn't have to maybe say the same things over and over again. I could be
Yeah.
like, hey, before we go to this meeting, I'd love for you to check out just these articles. So I would be able to point them out, like, read this guide, check this out, and then when I meet you, it might stir some different questions that I might not hear over and over again. And then also it prepares them for that next step of like, I didn't even think about this. This is what I need to be thinking about. And I don't you were just saying, Catie, like, is the internet like, failing moms or, and there's so much information, I don't think the problem obviously is a lack of information anymore. My gosh. But I do think that the problem is an abundance of information without context. So like moms today, we have access to more information than any generation before them. Like, but yet many still feel like more confused than ever because they're just getting advice from, gosh, social media, parenting influencers, Facebook groups, Reddit threads, family members, ChatGPT, Claude, like healthcare providers, podcasts, and Google searches, like, and all of them at the same time. And that's like paralysis, I think. This is
Yeah.
just information overload. And it's really, really tough for women. So I think the internet has become an incredibly good at delivering information, but not always at helping parents understand how to apply that information to their unique child and their unique circumstances. And I just think that parents don't need necessarily more information. Again, when I started Baby Chick, it was 2015, Mother's Day 2015, because was working with women since January 2011. And the internet has definitely changed and grown since then. And so also at Baby Chick, we've adapted. And, because there is so much information that we want to make sure that everything that we're sharing is credentialed, coming from real life experience, evidence based recommendations, like everything is being reviewed. So that's the gap that we're trying to fill with Baby Chick and with my new book as well, the Baby Chick Guide to Positive Pregnancy, so that women just know, like, okay, I know where I can go to get some real information, and just making this understandable, digestible, and not so overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it's really I'm so glad that ChatGPT wasn't around, like, as I was giving birth and, like, doing that because I know I would have been on it. I mean, so Danielle and I are in, AI all day, every day, working in
Totally.
marketing and that, and now you can only imagine the things people are searching and finding it, and to just put this out there on the internet because I heard somebody say it at a conference once, and for a long time, and even still now, data sources that are connected to those AIs, they pull from WebMD. So you're
Yeah.
getting that info, like medical advice when you ask it, the number one source is from WebMD, and you know how doctors feel about that. And so it's just always interesting to me of like where people are gathering the information, how do you validate? And that was a big reason Danielle and I were starting to kind of outreach to professionals, we're sharing our stories, which is awesome. We want to make a place where I think that's what's helped me the most is like hearing other moms like what they've gone
100%.
through or hearing how it's been with their kids. It's not always like the medical, you know, article online. It's like, how did you actually handle it as a mom and like
Yes.
get through whatever that was? So
Yes. Because I mean, we're not going back to like, because we're in our own, like, it's such an atomized world now. Like, we're in our own homes. We're not learning from our aunties and our grandmothers. We're learning
mhm.
from the internet, and that can be really hard. And so, when you actually are connecting with people and hearing their stories, that's what motherhood was never supposed to be done alone. And
I
I
mean,
feel
say it
like,
takes a
while
village. It does.
exactly. But the thing is, like, the internet can only go so far, and I think that the connection part is where that's when I think when you meet someone, like, even how we met before, you're like, "Are you cool? Are you cool? Cool. Like, are you gonna share helpful information? Are you gonna just share a whole bunch of puffy stuff?" Like, no, you wanna make sure that you can trust and relate to that person, and I think that's where, social media, anyone can have a voice, so you don't know if that connection is happening or not. So, I know it can be really tough with the whole trustworthiness. I totally agree with you, Catie.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. So, obviously on this podcast we talk a lot about working moms and I'm sure you have some stories you can share about moms that are transitioning back to
Mhm.
work, moms you've supported, what's making it so much harder than people expect. Can you share some stories of moms that you've worked with?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah. Oh gosh. I think like one of the hardest parts I see from women that are like expected to return to work is that they're also still becoming a mother. Like, most people think the challenge may be just like the logistics and the pumping and the childcare and the schedules. And that's what they talk to me about is like, okay, Nina, I need to like have this whole plan. And yeah, those things are hard. Yes, totally. But like underneath all of that is identity. Like, you're returning to work as a completely different person than who left. And many women are navigating that guilt, the grief, maybe excitement, relief, like anxiety, ambition, and exhaustion, like all of that simultaneously. That is so much to be going through someone and still recovering, like even though you are, you know, the fourth trimester is the first 12 weeks, but postpartum is forever. Like you were constantly growing and changing and evolving into this mother, and you love your children and maybe you also love your career. Like all of this, it's just it can be so hard. And sometimes like I think our culture just makes women feel like they have to choose. And that's also really hard. And the moms I've supported often struggle. They're not like, it's not that they're incapable. It's because they're just trying to excel in multiple demanding roles in their life while also adjusting to like one of the biggest life transitions they'll ever experience. And that's becoming a mom. So that's, I think, the hardest thing that I see women struggle with when returning back to work.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
and
agree that that's something that Katie and I both feel, a lot of our friends feel, and I think you put it perfectly when you're like, you can love your kids, you can love your career. And I remember people telling me, you're never going to come back the same. Like when you come back to work, and
No,
I didn't believe it because in that moment you're like, no, I am going to be this person forever. This is who I am. And then you have a baby and you're like, oh my God, I'm a totally different person. How do I
totally.
feel about that? And I do think that that makes it difficult because you're trying to navigate the different feelings that you have, and each month is something new, right? Like you're
Yes,
grieving the loss of, it's not a loss. Your baby's growing so fast, and then all of a sudden they're 7 and you're like you're missing the little child of them, but you're excited for the future child and you're thinking, how do I fit into this with my career? It's just it can be emotionally overwhelming. So with that being said, what's like one thing you tell moms like as they enter that fourth trimester and beyond? Like how do you help them through that emotional, I'm not going to call it a crisis, but that emotional challenge? Like, what's the biggest piece of advice you have?
oh my gosh, just please be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself and all of the emotions that you're feeling. Like, that's okay. It is okay to be excited to go to work, or it's okay to also dread it and wish that you were never having to return. Like, everything in between that, that's okay. I think that you need to also talk to someone about those feelings. Again, motherhood was never meant to be done alone. And whether you're excited or you're dreading it and hate it, like we need to be together and support each other. And again, it just all comes down to honestly support. Like the more that we can support women and mothers, the better that they're going to be off and the better that they're going to be able to take care of their babies and their families and return back to work feeling better if that's what they want to do. Or even if that's not what they want to do, it all comes down to line up your support. And it's okay no matter how you feel. Find your safe people that you can talk to because you need to process those feelings. And that's the healthy thing to do. And there are people out there, like whether you have a village or you have to buy that village, like find it and get it because you deserve it.
I like that, even if you have to buy it.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I talked about like your friends change and so many things change like once you
Totally.
become the mom. And I think something too is like finding those people that you're not afraid to say like, wow, this happened and I need to tell somebody. And
Yeah.
it's also like me being a mom too, like you want to be that person for other people too. You want somebody to feel comfortable coming to you talking about that, especially if you didn't have it. And I feel
Yes.
like I was like the first person in my circle that became a mom, of my friends and siblings and that. And then as they've had babies, they're like, Catie, I wish I knew how to have supported you because I just truly had no idea. And I'm like, the only thing we can hope for is you do it for the next person, right? Like
Exactly.
you now know. So, be
Pay
there
it
for the next
forward.
person. And yeah, like
Yes.
you got to keep it going.
Absolutely. Like they say, like if you want a village, be a villager. You need to be a
Here we go.
villager. You can't just expect a village to show up if you are not going to show up for other people. And that's what I'm always like, okay, it's my turn to pass the torch and like hand it to the next mom. Like here I am with all of the food. Let me do whatever I can to like make things easier for you. I've even done like for my sister-in-law when she had her baby, I was like, I'm going to spend the night because she was formula feeding. I was like, I will feed this baby. I want you to just sleep. Like
One night.
yeah, one night. I
And
can do
that
that.
one
I
night
can
can
leave.
change your whole trajectory of the next month for real.
She's to this day still brings it up. Her kid is now like 7. And she's like, I just will never forget that. Like, that was the best gift you could have given me. And it just made me feel so cared for.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, if you see a mom, just even little things, even like, oh my gosh, you are doing an amazing job. Like just lifting her up. Like just even little things. If you can't do much, like writing her a note, like just whatever you can do, it means so much. And that will pass forward. That's the biggest thing I tell people. Please be a villager. Please be a villager because then she's going to look around her and be like, wow, I have this incredible village and I'm going to pay it forward.
Yeah. And I think too, with that, my question I have for you is recently I started noticing as my kids are getting a little older that sometimes the moms who look like they have it all together, like I'll say one little thing, I'll make one little comment or ask a question or compliment how their child behaves, and they'll be like, this literally just happened. I said, your child is so respectful and always so kind when I'm here. And the person said, not at home. I'm struggling with A, B, C, D. And I would have never known that that parent was struggling. So, like, is it typical that people who look like they've got it all together on the outside might be like struggling on the inside? And how do you suggest breaking through to them?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I will go into some of the prettiest homes, into these what look like picture perfect families. And when you're there at all hours of the day and night, you see the full picture.
Hmm.
And no one's life is perfect. No one's. Like there is always something. There is always something. And they're struggling with something, even if it's just minor as like, oh no, my kid has talks back all the time or something. But it could be even deeper than that. And so I think that we cannot judge people on a snapshot that we see, whether that's on social media, whether that's at the park, we do not know what they're walking through. And I think that that's why not only do we need to give ourselves more grace, but we need to give others because we truly do not know the full picture of what they're going through. But so even the people who look like they have everything together, they usually are working the hardest to mask some of the ugliest monsters. And so I think that we just need to be super gracious and just be kind. It costs you nothing.
Absolutely. So if you have to narrow it down, we've asked you a few times now. So what's one thing, now we're talking before baby arrives, right?
Yeah.
What's the one thing you wish you could tell every single mom before the baby comes?
I think I would tell them that motherhood isn't something that you master. Like it's just it's someone you become and it's something that you learn as you go. Like you're never going to be like, "Oh, I've got this. I've studied this. Like I'm going to ace this test." Like no, no, no. This test is forever. And I think so many women like approach pregnancy and parenting thinking like there's a finish line. Like where they're just going to finally feel fully prepared, fully just confident and completely in control. But newsflash, like that moment is never going to come. Instead, like motherhood is just this continual process of growth and learning and adaptation. And I think like the goal is really just learning to trust yourself, trust your instincts, ask for support. That's like my biggest thing. Stay curious and give yourself grace as you grow alongside your child. Because, you know, at the end of the day, like people say this all the time, like a baby doesn't need a perfect mother. They need a happy, healthy, and supported one. Like that's what I want every mom to know.
That is that you absolutely nailed it. I feel like
Yeah, I
that's
want
a
the beginning
I'm
of
like,
that
wait,
on a
I'm
shirt.
digesting
Can
this
we
for
use that as
myself.
our
Like I'm telling
quote?
myself this. Hold on.
I'm giving the affirmations to myself as you're speaking. I'm like,
Good.
let's
Because
go.
it's true. It's just, you're never going to be like, there's always a new thing that comes up. There's always, like, you think, oh, we just made it through this. No, there's another hurdle you're going to go through with your child as they grow. Like, shoot, my mom is still dealing with me. I'm almost 40, you know? Like, I still
Yeah,
call her
right.
and she,
We all
you know, it's
like it's not
forever.
gonna end.
I
Yeah,
send
It
my
it'll
mom
doesn't
those
end.
Instagrams constantly because I'm 40 and I'm like, you're never getting rid of me. You're never getting rid of me.
Never. Sorry. So
absolutely not.
that's why I just want you to know like you're never going to master it. You're always learning, you're always growing, you're always adapting, and that's okay cuz you're growing with your child. You're not supposed to be perfect. None of us are. And as long as you show up with love, curiosity, with, you know, just wanting the best for you and your baby, like you're doing a great job.
Absolutely amazing. I feel like we could chat with you forever, but we need to we're all busy moms. We got to keep things rolling. But we did want to just call out your book again. So the Baby Chick Guide to Positive Pregnancy. When's the official release date? We're in pre-order right now.
Yes, pre-order right now, but it is available June 30th.
June 30th coming
Can
up
you
quick.
tell us a
And
little
if
bit more about what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, my book is like a baby planner and a doula in book form. So if you're like, what should I be thinking about? Because again, Danielle, my clients kept asking the same questions. And sometimes they're like, I won't read that article. But they like having something to hold and something to go through and guide them each step of the way. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make this like each month what you should be thinking about. What are some options that maybe you didn't even know were available to you, and have you go through that? And not only that, it has partner tips on there. So you shouldn't be carrying this pregnancy by yourself. No, you shouldn't be having to hold all of this mental load because they say motherhood is when the invisible load starts. No, no, no. It starts during pregnancy and maybe even trying, like when you're
yep,
trying to conceive.
right.
No, no, no. So there are things that your partner can do. And so there's stuff in that. And not only that, it also has meditations because it links to my app that you get for free with my book, with a book purchase, as well as recipes, as well as workouts. So it really does get you so much more prepared for birth and for postpartum. So that's how you can have a more positive pregnancy.
We're so excited. And you have an amazing baby registry giveaway right now. If you
Yeah.
order the pre-order, there's over $5,500 in prizes. Everyone needs to go check it out. We'll make sure everything's linked up in the show notes here. But I mean, Halo, Mockingbird, like a 3 month, I think I saw 3 month supply of diapers.
Yes,
Come
from
on.
Coterie. Yeah.
Yes, so amazing. So we'll definitely be checking it out. We have all of Nina's links below. If you haven't checked out Baby Chick before, make sure you guys go and give her a follow and check out the new book coming at the end of the month. But
Yeah,
Nina,
you are
thank you so much.
amazing. This was
I know,
You
incredible.
guys are amazing. Thank you.
so good.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and our listeners. I think that everything we talked about is close to all of our hearts. And, you know, I think people will be able to take quite a bit back. But pre order the book, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. It's just been an honor. I'm so glad I got to chat with y'all. It's been so much fun, and thank you. Thank you again.
Amazing. We will see you all next time.